Yes. Welcome to the Ashish and Friends podcast. As always, I'm your host, Ashish Airy, and you can hit me up on Instagram and Twitter at Ashish Airy. Of course, I have my longtime friends and co-hosts. We've got Dev at Super Laser. We've got Shahan at Shahan J. Raja, and we've got Ryan. Today we're doing, what? We got a draft? Wow, who would have thought? So what we're doing here today is we actually had the TV shows part one drop a couple weeks ago. So we're going to do part two right here. And ideally, I think we're going to stick to 4 rounds this time instead of 5. We have a list of the ones taken from the last show. That's the only rule. You just can't draft one of those again. Everything else still up for availability. And always, as I'm doing my randomizer right here, just check us out at ashishandfriends.com. Give us a follow at Ashish and Friends on Instagram, Ashish and Pals on Twitter, and we're even on Facebook, facebook.com /Ashish and Friends pod. Thank you guys so much. Let me get this order. To be honest with you guys, this time I'm not going to really stick to the normal sitcoms I do watch because there's a shit ton. I'm really going to just try to branch out and do some other variety stuff. So let's see how that goes. Oh my gosh. We should have taken that bet with Ryan.
Oh, okay, no. Did you get the first pick?
All right. We got the order here. Shahan, you're fourth.
I told you.
Third is your boy Ashish here.
Apparently I owe Ryan $10.
Number 2, we got Dev. And and that means Ryan has the number 1 pick. I'm so glad I wasn't in on that bet. But yeah,
in a row.
Something is wrong with this randomizer. We're going to look for a new one for the next upcoming episodes. But Ryan, you've got the number 1 pick, and I'm really worried you're going to take the one I want. But go ahead. Get us started.
With the first pick of TV Draft Part 2, I'm taking Shark Tank. Shark Tank is one of my favorite shows, and I apologize for not taking the last draft. It completely slipped my mind. I love watching it, seeing the innovative inventions and products people bring and pitch, and the way, and just learning about business and the way the sharks go about their business and the stories behind all the products and businesses. I like this show. I watch it a lot. I'm glad to get Shark Tank as my first pick.
Well, I know that Mark Cuban was devastated. He messaged me and said, I can't believe that Ryan didn't take it in the last draft. But I think that he'll be glad that you took it number 1 in this one, in the consolation drafts.
Right.
He'll give me $25,000 for 10% equity of this pick.
Yeah, great.
I don't think you will.
No. Ryan, that was on my list for sure. Obviously, we talked about it at the end of the last episode, part 1. Fantastic show. Kevin's always interesting. He's always mean, but he's also kind of cool. Robert and Mark are definitely my favorites. I think Robert's super nice. But yeah, dude, it's one of those shows I love watching. And it's been a minute, but one of the greatest shows of all time. So good job, Ryan. That was the one show I really wanted, but, whatever. Dev, number 2, what do you got?
All right, so for this draft, I was a little less worried about us taking each other's picks as I was last time. I think we watch a lot of the same main shows. When it comes to our secondary tastes and we get deeper into the catalog, I think our shows are a little different. So I'm not really sure. I actually don't think any of you guys watch the show, but I'm going to take it with the number 1 pick, and that's How to Get Away with Murder. So I'm a big sucker for courtroom dramas. They're always fun. And I think How to Get Away with Murder, especially at the beginning, did a great job of tying that in, the courtroom along with a little bit of the drama outside. And it was just a fun show to watch, and I enjoy it.
Is it still going on right now?
I believe so, but all shows to me exist as to what they are on Netflix.
Yeah,
That's pretty much all of the shows exist to me. So they're still going on. When they get new episodes on Netflix, then I'll figure it out.
I never saw the show, but I know the creator also created Scandal and worked with Grey's Anatomy too. So obviously those two are superstar shows. So I don't think it's my cup of tea, but heard really good things about it. Have you guys seen it, Ryan, Shahan?
I haven't seen it, but I think anything with court cases keeps it enticing and dramatic, so that always can make a good show.
And I think the court aspect, with a lot of shows, you have to catch every episode, and this is definitely one of those shows, but it is something you can kind of just have on because if you miss stuff, it's okay because the courtroom aspect just draws you in no matter what, right?
For sure, that's true. Definitely something I'll check out. My sister-in-law does love that show, so I'll give it a watch sometime soon. So that gives me my first pick, number 3 overall, and something we talked about at the end of part 1. We talked about it as a kid show, but you know what? It's a show I really love. So right here, I'm gonna have to take. Hey, Arthur. Arthur is just, oh my goodness, what a great, fantastic show. And this is like no cap. In college, I used to talk to some girls about Arthur all the time. Like, I remember there's this one instance we were running through the rain naming off Arthur characters. And this was a real thing. I can prove it to you. Shout out to you, Supna, if you're watching. But dude, Arthur, watching, yes. But dude, Arthur, oh my God, what a great show. So educational. DW's kind of like a mean little girl, but it's okay. Arthur is just fantastic. I love Arthur. Overall, I used to watch it after school, before school. I'm going to take it right here.
I think that might have been the weirdest flex we've had on the show yet. But
no, it's not a flex. There's a story. I'm telling you, like, this is like something
or like the
weird.
It's a weird story, but I like that. It's cool.
Hey, Dev, you can take your props and shove it, okay?
You talked about how you would just list Arthur characters, but every time we've talked about Arthur, you've literally only mentioned DW. Are you sure you know any other characters?
My favorite character is Mr.
Yes, I know Alan, also known as the Brain. We got Francine.
Alan, what?
Come on, dude, stop that. Get out of here. Oh, do you know his last name?
Yeah.
What was his last name?
Powers. Come on, what are we doing here?
Well, I don't even know that. I know he created a shoe in one episode. It was like in the race he was doing it. Come on, I know this shit.
He didn't create that shoe.
Fantastic show though. Shahan's upset because I know I think he might want to take it, but dude, it's a great show overall.
Listen. I also talked to a girl about Bargby that
Just how did that conversation go?
Be my wife. Anyway. Okay. Well, with that off the board, we're gonna start with good shows here. Okay, so first pick, we're gonna go with The Good Place. The Good Place, one of the smartest shows on TV. It's really interesting. Okay, the first season I thought was probably their best season in a lot of ways. You know, it was for people who don't know, it's kind of a show about the afterlife, and it's very like philosophical, but it's not like overtly like you don't need to understand philosophy to understand the show. That's not the point of the show, but they like really tie in some of that stuff, and the characters are just really interesting too. And it's really about sort of this sort of central idea of like, can people get better? You know, that's really what the show is about, and I think it's a really interesting show. It's a Michael Schur production, which Michael Schur does not miss. Like, he just straight up does not miss. So I'm gonna go with The Good Place in round 1. And in round 2, I am going to go with Barry. So Bill Hader, one of the best actors out there, he goes from being obviously the comedic guy that we know on SNL to being a very serious character, actually. Like, it's still sort of a dark comic show. But basically the plot is that Barry is an assassin, but he doesn't really want to be an assassin. He kind of got pushed into that world after he came back from fighting in Afghanistan. And it's sort of about his struggle, because in the first episode, he decides this guy is literally like a serial killer. He decides he wants to be an actor. And so, you know, it's sort of the pull of these two worlds of what he wants and the life that he wants versus the life that he actually has. And that was kind of chosen for him when he came back from war by some people around him. It's a really, really good show. They've released 2 seasons so far, and both of them have been fantastic. So I'm going to take Barry with my second pick.
Really great show. I know Shahan was on me last time about HBO flexing out here, but you know, clearly he took Barry. But yeah, Barry's
I must jump in and say that I watched the entire first season literally just on airplanes, because when I was flying to and from Atlanta, I would just watch like 4 episodes at a time.
Damn. No, but Barry's a really good show. We talked about like the season 2, episode 5, one of the best episodes of all time of like TV of all time.
Fucking nuts.
Yes. And definitely looking forward to season 3. That's definitely one of the shows I watch as well. So really good pick there. Have you guys seen it, Dev? If you guys haven't, Dev, Ryan.
I've seen The Good Place though. I really enjoy that show. I think it's one of my favorites. I haven't been keeping up with it, as I think this is the final season, right?
It finished.
Yeah. but it's not on Netflix yet. So when it gets to Netflix, I'll watch it.
Yeah, it's definitely
Yeah.
one that's because we would watch it live, when it would
Yeah.
come out every week. It's definitely one that's fun to watch as a binge because like it's one of those where the plot very much ties
Yeah.
together as it goes along.
I was actually watching it live, but then my DVR like didn't work for a week. So then I was like, I'm not catching up. I'll wait for Netflix.
I'm not adding another episode to my watch load. It's another 22 minutes.
No, I had to go find the episode then, right? Like if you don't have it, then I have to put in work to find it, and I'm like, whatever. It'll come back. I like the show, so I'm sure it'll be
It's
great.
a really good show. It's Kristen Bell. It's at her best. It's a good show. It's a really good show.
Yep, for sure. Sean actually told me to watch it. It's actually really good. I just never got a chance to actually complete it, but another really good show. I forgot the Fonz's name, the actor's
Henry
name,
Winkler.
but yes, but he's in Barry too, and I love that guy.
Go.
All right, well, right here with my round 2 pick, things are looking dicey. There's like definitely 2 shows I need to get back on my board. Like I'm gonna get them 3, 4. I've got 4 shows I want to really draft. So right here, I'm just gonna take SNL. It's just a really great show. I mean, obviously we took it, probably in a future podcast when it drops, but check it out. It's something obviously that I really love. And yeah, it's just something, I don't know if I really catch it on Saturday nights itself, but something, I'll watch the day after or watch highlights and stuff like that. I'm a huge comedy guy, so it really fits me. And yeah, I'm going to be happy taking SNL right here, and I'll throw it back to Dev.
Yeah, so with my next pick, I went with kind of a more adult show, and I did want to get at least one kid show on my draft. And you drafted Arthur, but I actually think there's a better kid show still available.
Wrong.
Yeah.
But I think SpongeBob is a better show, so I'm
Wrong.
going to take SpongeBob here with the next pick. I think SpongeBob is phenomenal, is a big part of growing up, and it's one of those shows that when you watch it as an adult, it's still funny to me. And I really like the show, so I'm going to take SpongeBob.
Yeah, no, I think SpongeBob is a great show. Ryan, have you ever seen SpongeBob?
Yeah, they would always play it at the gym when I'm working out. So I'm there doing the row machine, and the TVs there playing SpongeBob. So I'm there watching SpongeBob as I get intense rowing.
But are you listening to SpongeBob, or is it just on the screen and you got to read subtitles?
Read the subtitles. SpongeBob SquarePants.
Yeah. SpongeBob is one of those shows I think that the subtitles don't do it justice because the voice acting in SpongeBob is amazing.
No, the voice acting is critical to the show, no doubt.
Yeah, no, I think it's one of the greatest kid shows of all time. But is it greater than Arthur? I think that's a stretch.
I think it is easily greater than Arthur.
I think that they're different shows, but I think that for me, when I'm looking at the quality of a kid show, I like the fact that Arthur has substance. Like SpongeBob is funnier, like that. It's definitely funnier, but like I prefer that Arthur has like more to it than
but like
hilarity.
Avatar: The Last Airbender has more to it, and it's better than Arthur. So like. I already have that on my board from last time.
Yeah, but I don't consider those comparable though. I think
these are like total different genres. That's like an action, like adventure type thing. Arthur's just like doing his shit every day. He's just living his life.
Arthur's like
school.
Arthur, you're able to watch from the time that you're like 4. Like Avatar is more like you're like more of like a tween. When you can really start to get into it. So I don't consider them comparable.
I think you could watch it and then get more. Like it's one of those shows you can just keep watching, like with different ages, and you'll start to get more and more. Like 4-year-olds, I've watched it with 4-year-olds before, like with my cousins, and it's been fun. Like Avatar, still people they enjoy it. The action it draws them in.
Oh, is that the only?
No,
But yeah, whatever. We'll move on to Ryan, and yeah, Ryan, what do you got for us? Round 2, back-to-back picks.
For my second pick, I'm picking a newer show that I really like. It's called Songland. It's on NBC. It's when songwriters pitch their songs to 3 producers: Ryan Tedder, Esther something, and Shane McAnally. Sorry, Esther, I can't remember her last name. Anyway, they're great producers. They choose 3 or 4 songs and rewrite them, help them produce it, put beats to it, change it up for a big name singer like Boyz II Men, One Republic, John Legend. and they choose one of those and put it on their album. And it's just a great show, putting a light on songwriters and what they have to go through and all the work behind the scenes, and to produce great music. And you can learn from it from a songwriting viewpoint. So I personally just really like that show because I like songwriting and writing.
Yeah, obviously we know your love of One Republic and Ryan Tedder. Since you don't know Esther's last name, I think that's why she dropped to part 2 of the draft. And, but no, I've definitely heard really good things about it. I heard advertisements about it, but I've just never seen the show. But I've heard really good things. Hasn't Nick Jonas popped on like the premiere episode or once in a while? I know they bring in guests all the time.
Yeah, every episode has a guest that they
Yeah.
write the songs too. I think Nick Jonas is coming up. I think he's coming on in a future episode, but I don't recall him on that episode yet. I've seen all of them.
Because I think I saw him like on the series premiere, like teasing it. So maybe upcoming. But yeah, really good show. I know I love Ryan's picks because he just chooses all the great things, like his genres. He's got everything handled. I was making a list today, and I was like, Ryan took the best cooking show of all time, and I was gonna take one, but like there's nothing that competes with Chopped. So
I would be completely honest. I was like, man, I want a cooking show, but Chopped is just so much better than any other cooking show. So like,
yeah. But yeah, we know you love music too, so that makes sense. So what are you doing with your third pick?
For my third pick, since we're all on the best kids show, I think from the viewpoint of the substance, I think this is the best kids show. I'm going with Mr. Rogers. It's my number 3 pick. Mr. Rogers, let me tell you, he fought to keep that show and PBS alive. There would be no Arthur without Mr. Rogers. He went to court and asked for funding. And let me tell you what he said in court. He said, this is what he said, and I love the way he said it. He said, so he gave him something.
How did he say it?
Oh, did he? He said
that's a dramatic pause. He's got
audacity.
to get into character.
So before he went to court, he gave them something to read to prepare. And he said, one of the first things that a child learns in a healthy family is trust. And I trust what you have said that you will read this. It is very important to me. I care deeply about children. And from those statements and the way he made the judge in the court feel, that turned the whole court case around. He got funding for PBS. He fought to have the show for kids because he didn't see any shows that has substance like that on there. He teaches community, loving your brothers and sisters, just believing in yourself, knowing that you're special just the way you are, and you should be loved for just the way you are. And it's such a beautiful show that you watch as young as 4 or 5 and learn these wonderful virtues and concepts. And I think it was just a wonderful show produced. And it's a generational show. It never gets old, and anybody can learn from it. And so I'm really happy to get that as my third pick.
Yeah, the show's called Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So first of all, there's like a mural in Austin with that, so that's pretty dope. I've seen it last year. But yeah, no, I think it's a great show for learning lessons. I only caught some episodes. My brother watched all of it, and my mom loved that show for him. And yeah, you see him, he walks in, he takes off his jacket, hangs it up properly, puts his shoes in a nice place. It's like just everything he does, you can learn something from. I think there's a little train set episode, like during the episodes. It was a little weird. It was a little confusing for me, but no, really great episode. Really great show. My apologies. And yeah, so I like what you did there. So we'll throw it back to Dev if you guys have no other comments.
He feeds the fish every episode, and he announces it because he got a letter from a young girl that was blind and couldn't see if he fed the fish. So he announced it every episode to make sure he fed the fish.
Wow, that's awesome. Did not know that. Mm-hmm. All right, we'll throw it back to Dev. Your third pick.
All right, so I'm probably going to pull a little bit of what I'm going to call a Shahan here. And we've said a lot of great shows with, like, we're talking every TV show ever. And I'm going to take one with only 6 episodes. So shout out to Shahan for taking Lil Nas X, who had 1 album. I'm going to take a show with 1 season, 6 episodes. It's only 2 hours of TV. And that's Trigger Warning by Killer Mike. If you haven't seen it, it's one of those shows that is almost impossible to describe, but it's so brilliant, and you'll learn so much just watching Killer Mike, who is a rapper from Atlanta, one half of Run the Jewels. And he just sets an impossible goal for himself every episode, and he just sees how close he can get to achieving it. One of the goals he set in the first episode is to operate entirely off of only black-owned businesses. Another goal that he set was to um, bring the Crips and Bloods income through a soda company. So he got them all set up with their own sodas and taught them that side of business. And it's just a really, really interesting show. They're 20-something minute episodes. You can just throw them on anytime with anyone over, and they're hilarious, and you'll enjoy it. So I definitely think it's an amazing show. If you haven't watched it, everyone should check it out.
Are they going to make another season, or is it just a one?
I'm not sure, honestly. So you can tell if you've watched the show how much work goes into each episode. So I'm not sure how much time it's going to take for him to make another season, because I'm sure it took him at least 2 years to film the 6 episodes that he goes over there. But they're just incredible. And it's like just 2 hours of watching. I watched it all in one night, and I've watched it again since. It's amazing. Definitely recommend it.
Yep, huge fan of Killer Mike. I haven't heard of the show, but I'll definitely check it out since you mentioned it. And well, that throws it back to me. What? All right. Well, oh man, you said the word eat, and something popped into my mind. So I'm just gonna go off the board now, and I'm gonna take Man versus Food right here. With Adam Richman. I don't know, for a couple years, I just really love that show. He takes on these huge challenges, like around the world, of like all these amazing eats, and he has to eat like all this amazing food in a limited time. I don't know, is entertaining. He's a cool guy. Adam Richman, check him out. Man versus Food. I'll take that right here. Obviously, like we said, Chopped is the best like food show of all time, so couldn't compete with that. I was thinking about like taking Iron Chef here, but then I was like, I really loved watching Man versus Food, so I'll take that. And
Man versus Food is kind of like somewhere in between, like a cooking show
and it's just a food show, right? He's eating the food.
Yeah.
Is he traveling to exotic places and trying the food?
Right. So most of it he's like in America, but I've seen him eat, like go down to Mexico and have some other stuff, and he eats like Indian food. He eats all kinds of foods, but it's around the America mostly.
Isn't a lot of the food he eats like challenges?
Yeah. That's what I was saying. They're mostly challenges.
Complete.
Yeah. It's either like large amount of foods, or like super spicy foods, or whatever it is. And like
because I know one was in Amarillo. They have like a 72-ounce steak that's free if you eat it, and I'm pretty sure he did an episode for that.
Probably. And the only other cooking show or food show I was going to mention was Anthony Bourdain's show. Obviously, I really love that show because the first episode I watched, he went to Punjab in India and tried all that food. And I'm like, oh shit, like this food is amazing. So I was glad he enjoyed it. Parts unknown, really good show. Shahan, you've got 2 back-to-back picks here. How are you going to round out your draft?
Well, looking at my board, there are 4 shows that I'm going to feel really bad to be without, and I'm going to be without 2 of them, guaranteed. So that sucks. Let's see. Actually, wait, sorry, I have 5 shows that I'm going to be pissed to be without. It's even worse than that. So, all right, let's keep things easy here. I'm going to go with It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So, It's Always Sunny. It's about a group of terrible people who own a bar. It's the type of show that you kind of still can't believe gets made, but it's like very much like about parroting how terrible people they are. But obviously, because people are stupid, they kind of relate with the characters, which you're not really supposed to do. But no, I mean, it's got Danny DeVito, it's got Charlie Day, it's got just all these great actors. I mean, they're really good in their roles. They really own those parts. And yeah, I just think it's one of the funniest shows on television. Do any of you guys watch it?
I have seen up until they pulled it off Netflix. So I think there's like 11 seasons at that point, or 10 seasons, something like that.
Yeah.
And so I enjoyed it. I enjoyed all of it. I watched it all in 1 week, actually. I had the week off of work, and I just watched it. It's Always Sunny. It was awesome.
Yeah, they do a lot of like concept episodes too, which are always really fun. Like that's something that I love too. Is just again, I just love when there's sort of like a dumb idea, right? Like they had an episode, for example, where they're like, we're going to profit off of like gas prices being expensive because we're going to collect gas in barrels and like go door to door selling it. It's just, they're just the stupidest fucking people alive, and it's just so funny.
My favorite episode is the one where he's eating cereal in the car and he gets hit from behind, so he wants them to pay for the damages inside the car from the cereal spilling.
Yeah, because and he got hit by his dad. Was it behind him, or was
Danny
Frank?
DeVito's character. Yeah.
Frank hit him from behind, and so he says that that Danny DeVito is responsible for it, and then Danny DeVito's like, no, you had a fucking bowl of cereal with milk in your car. Of course, that's your fault. So that's just the concept of the entire episode. There's actually like. It's more like it's definitely like less subtle, but there's aspects of Curb with that where it's like it just takes something and goes super serious with it, even though it's just like a tiny little thing. So I always enjoy that.
They actually did a pretty, like, obviously it's a comedy, but they actually did a pretty good job of talking about how like a settlement would go in a court case, which is like crazy surprising considering how over the top the whole episode is.
Yeah, no, it's really good. So now I have to pick from my list of
the real question is, what was the cereal he was eating in the car?
I don't remember. I think it was Lucky Charms, but I could be wrong.
It was probably Kashi, and we know it.
I highly doubt it was Kashi.
Oh man, yeah. There's 4 shows left on my board.
Yeah, go ahead.
That I really, really cannot do without. So this is going to fucking suck, whichever one I pick. All right. Well, when I look at my board right now, I've got 2 true comedies and then a dark comedy. So I'm going to go with a more serious show. I'm going to go with Better Call Saul, the sequel to Breaking Bad. I think that it's done a lot of things. It's a very different show than Breaking Bad. It's not like sort of the gangs, the drugs, all that sort of stuff. It's actually kind of a legal show, but it's like a legal show mixed with like a criminal show, So it's like, because I don't usually like sort of the like cop dramas or the Law and Orders or that type of thing. Like that's just not necessarily my thing. But this is very much like a character development show set in the legal world, And so when they came out with the show, I thought that it was gonna be like hijinks, like I don't know if you guys have ever seen Breaking Bad, but like Saul Goodman, the character it's based on, is like a pretty ridiculous character, and so I was worried that it was gonna be like kind of dumb, but they've made it like very serious, like character development of like how did he go from this to like being like a criminal lawyer basically, and like criminal as in like him being a criminal, of course. So I just think it's been a really well done show, and look, that was. I was talking to Bargady earlier, and I said that was my number 1 show on my board, and I honestly forgot about it until right now. But yes, there are 3 more shows, and I feel pissed that I can't get any of them.
Yeah, I've never seen Better Call Saul, but I've heard really good things. I was watching Community, though. I'm just finishing it up, and he pops in at the end of the show, which I thought was like so unexpected and random that he would be in Community, but
yeah, no, it really is.
Whenever I do finish Breaking Bad, I'll definitely check out that show. People say they love it. I think the last season that came out was like out of the, it blew the roof off people's minds. But yeah, obviously I haven't finished Breaking Bad, so I wasn't going to start that.
Yeah, this past season is really where you start to see the convergence of the shows where like, I mean, there are characters who were included in Breaking Bad who are included in Better Call Saul earlier, but like this is really where it's like, okay, these are like starting to meld into the same timeline now.
Is it a prequel or is it a sequel?
It's a prequel.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's basically, because again, Better Call Saul is like, a guy who basically does legal stuff for like, drug cartels and stuff like that. And so at the beginning of Better Call Saul, Saul Goodman is actually known by another name, and he's like literally like a guy who does cheap public defender cases to make by basically, and his brother's like a hot shot lawyer, and it goes into all those dynamics and all. So it's really interesting to kind of see that character development to where he's like, obviously a terrible person working with terrible people.
Yeah, I remember him in the show Breaking Bad, but I was
Yeah.
just like, I didn't know where they put the new show.
Yeah.
All right, well, that wraps up your draft. We'll get to your honorable mentions, Sean. So at least you can talk about those. And It's Always Sunny. It's always on my list. I just haven't had a chance to watch it, but heard good things as well. So with my last pick here, this is something I was going to take in part one. I knew it was going to fall to me with my last pick here, but it's one of the greatest shows of all time. It's Dragon Ball Z. Okay, I'm so glad no one else watched that over here, but it is my favorite show as a kid. Me and my brother, like I mentioned last time, really loved that show growing up. I love talking to people about it even today. Just something I can really relate to. I feel like Goku, sometimes Vegeta, but please hit me up. I love talking about Dragon Ball Z if you couldn't tell. Dragon Ball GT, it's okay. Dragon Ball itself, I don't like Baby Goku that much. But yeah, Dragon Ball Z. They take forever on episodes. Sometimes Goku dies and he doesn't come back for like 30 episodes, but it's all worth it. The action, the storyline, amazing. So I'm glad I got Dragon Ball Z here to round out my draft. And I'll throw it to Dev for his last pick.
That was a Ball Z pick.
All right. Anyway, so I've never been a big Dragon Ball fan, but I do know it's also one of those shows that it's been going on so long that it's kind of transcended generations in a way, which I think is really interesting. Pokemon is in that same realm right now, where like younger kids still love Pokemon. Dragon Ball, like younger kids are still all for that show, so it's really interesting how well they've done for so long.
Right, and the storyline just keeps continuing. Now they like Dragon Ball Super out. They have Dragon Ball blah blah blah. It's always something else new coming out, new Super Saiyan levels. They dropped a movie with Brawly. I think it was end of 2019 or early 2020. I definitely went to the theater to watch it. I really loved it. So yeah, I was happy to get it. Dev, last pick. Where are you going?
All right. So again, I'm gonna take a show that only has 2 seasons right now. But Shahan talked about It's Always Sunny and how you can kind of relate to unlikable characters that are just terrible, terrible, terrible people. And that's kind of where I'm going with my next show, and that's You. So if you haven't seen the show You, it's about a serial killer, and you're watching it from his perspective. He's a serial killer slash stalker, and it's just really, really interesting the way he thinks about things, and it's just well-made show. I definitely recommend it. It's a good time.
That sounds very fascinating. There's a lot of shows don't go from the viewpoint of the serial killer. They go from the opposite viewpoint.
Yeah, you're actually like in his head, so you hear him think. You see what he does. Like the whole show just follows him basically. So it's really interesting for sure.
Yeah, no, we hung out last year and you're talking about it. And, obviously season 2 dropped recently. Yeah, really good show. I haven't checked it out all the way. I started watching it because it's the guy from Gossip Girl. I thought he did a great job in Gossip Girl. But yeah, a really hit show on Netflix. So I definitely recommend it too. Maybe not my cup of tea. That's probably why I haven't seen it. But all right, I think that's a good way to round out. And Ryan, last pick here. What do you got?
As a matter of fact, you have sent me a couple clips from this TV show, and I thought you may have picked it, but
Oh,
you didn't pick it. And actually, I don't think it was ever brought up in both of these episodes. But I'm gonna take this show as my last pick, as a flyer, as a wild card. I'm gonna take My Wife and Kids. My Wife and Kid, I think it's a funny show. It's got Damon Wayans, Tisha Campbell. I think it's very funny. It has a goat, MJ. It has Terry Crews. Indeed, Your Training. Cracks me up every time I watch that episode. Funniest scenes ever with Terry Crews. I picked it just for Terry Crews and Michael Jordan beating Damon Wayans and making all the shots.
yeah. No, we used to talk about that specific clip for so many years now. And
Indeed.
yeah. No, yeah, My Wife and Kids, that was like one of the shows I used to watch with my mom, to be honest. And it's just a really funny show. Obviously, Damon Wayans. But yeah, we've talked about the show like since middle school. I was really surprised you watched it, but it's a hilarious show. It's just like a little bottom tier for me, like not at this level, but amazing show.
I'm just looking at his heart rate.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely check out Terry Crews' special appearances. There's a lot of actual special appearances on that show. They're really good. So real quickly, if you just want to go over your board real quick and one or two that you haven't mentioned at all, Dev, let's start with you.
Yep. So I'll just go through my board really quick. I got a legal show with How to Get Away with Murder. I got a kids show with SpongeBob. I have a comedy show with Trigger Warning, and I have a more serious show with you. So I think it does a good job of encapsulating a lot of different genres in TV. Some shows that I really wanted to draft, but just didn't quite get there. Futurama. I really love that show. Everybody Loves Raymond, and Firefly.
Everybody
Nice.
Loves Raymond is a classic.
Yes, yes. And of course, that Big Sean line's fire. Shahan, you?
Yeah, so I took The Good Place first. I took Barry second. I took It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia third, and I closed it out with Better Call Saul. So the three that I was not happy that I couldn't get. The first one was Master of None. Master of None, only 2 seasons, but I think that those 2 seasons out of 20 episodes, I think that probably like 15 of those episodes are absolute classic episodes. So definitely want to get a season 3 in there, but obviously, you know, the next one that I wanted to pick was Arrested Development. So Arrested Development, a show that I don't think enough people have watched. Just such a funny show. It created so many stars. Jason Bateman was the main character on that show. Michael Cera was on that show. Will Arnett, who's become one of the greats, was on that show. Jeffrey Tambor, Tony Hale. Like it's unbelievable how many people came from that show, and it's such a funny show. It takes a little bit to get into because like they have to kind of set up the jokes and like set up who these people are before they can really, do the jokes. But it's about a rich family basically who's trying to hold it all together after their patriarch goes to prison. So it's a hilarious show. So that's a big one for me. And the third one, if I wanted to go with a little bit of a wild card there, Queer Eye. Queer Eye is a fantastic show to watch. It's like if anybody hasn't watched it, it's kind of like a male makeover show. And so, but they kind of don't just deal with like obviously the clothes and all that sort of stuff. It's like sort of meant to be like a big holistic makeover. I think it's a really positive show. I think that and I don't think that's show is usually geared towards men. I think that it's very much sort of thought that doing that kind of thing and having self-confidence are very feminine traits, and so I really like that they kind of take some of that and make it a little bit more male-centric, because I think that that's something that men struggle to deal with.
Nice. Yeah, you actually talked about it and told me to watch those, so I'll definitely watch those at some point. Really good ones there.
Every time it comes out, like I seriously, the night it comes out, I'm like, I gotta watch all these episodes, because like it's just one of those that like every single episode hits in a different way. Like, and again, they just take because there are usually 8 episodes in a season. I mean, all of them are just such deep stories, and they really like try to address the real things that are behind some of why people dress like this, why people don't take care of themselves, all that sort of stuff. So to me it's a must-watch show.
Nice. All right, Ryan, real quickly, your board and any other mentions you have.
Number 1, I took Shark Tank, followed by Songland, then Mr. Rogers, rounded up by My Wife and Kids. The other 2 I was thinking of for that last pick, I thought of Dr. Ken, which is only 2 series, but I like the premise of the show being a medical comedy kind of thing, of Ken Jeong going into the comedy route and his practice as a doctor. I think that good characters. Again, Tisha Campbell is on that one too. So it's Ken Jeong and then Dave Foley, and then his son on there is fantastic. And then America's Got Talent. You just get all the talent acts and so many different talents. I also like Penn and Teller Fool Us, which is a magic show. And then The Voice and American Idol are classic reality singing shows.
Yeah, no, really good ones. And the actress Tisha, she's also on Martin, which was like an epic show back in the day. She's in some really, really, really good stuff. But yeah, you mentioned some really good ones. Penn and Teller, it's a little hard since one of them doesn't talk. I wish you talk. I just watched the episodes so I can hear a little peep, but really great show for sure. So my board was, I took Arthur, great children's show, one I grew up with for sure. SNL, really good comedy. You've got some, musical artists as well, which is always nice to watch. And of course, someone like trying to, new TV series or movie coming out, someone's hosting it. Good stuff. Then I took Man vs. Food. probably just for a couple years. I really love that show. It's been a bit, it's been a bit of time, but just really cool seeing someone like take those challenges on and eat that much food in a limited amount of time. He's very entertaining as well. And I rounded it out with the greatest show of all time, Dragon Ball Z. I was really, obviously, I'm ecstatic that I got it here. And yeah, so any mentions I have, I wanted to take something in like from HGTV, so like House Hunters or maybe Property Brothers. I talked about a food one, maybe Iron Chef instead of Man vs. Food. And yeah, I was potentially going towards the sitcom route. Fresh, really good one. Three's Company, That 70s Show, Full House. Things I've watched a lot of times, just not that great. And lastly, anything Marvel on Netflix. Whenever they dropped, I'd watch them the same night, like all 10 episodes. Daredevil and The Punisher and Luke Cage, 3 of the best shows on Netflix of all time. And it's very sad that they took them off, but let's see what happens. All right. Well, obviously, you can hit us up and talk to us individually about these TV shows. I think we could go on for days. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Of course, the poll will drop the day after the episode drops on Instagram at Ashish and Friends, on Twitter at Ashish and Pals. And just ask us questions, give us segment ideas, whatever you want to do at AshishandFriends.com. And once again, we appreciate you guys listening so much. And until next time, we're out.